Oil prices have nosedived. Russia's winning this oil price war. Russia decided to pump as much oil as they can, flood the market with oil. Saudi Arabia followed suit. They had no choice because if they didn't, Russia would steal market share and Saudi Arabia would be a sitting duck. And so the goal here is for Saudi Arabia to outpump and outproduce Russia and steal their market share by undercutting Russia. But they're running into even more problems right now. Saudi oil tankers spree drives 700% surge in ships' earnings. It's 700% more expensive to export oil using the oil tankers as it's becoming more competitive. I mean, how are they supposed to pump all this oil and not expect a surge in oil tanker fees, because they are at much higher demand now than ever before? And so this hurts Shale as well because we're exporting oil and it's making it that much less profitable for oil exports. And so it's a bloodbath out there if you're in the oil business. And I get this question all the time. How long do I think Shale will last in this? Well, first off, Shale has already taken a dip here. We have steadily grown since 2016 until today. Shale output is starting to dip. It took a while for it to start dipping because, quite simply, they're still putting a lot of shale wells online, wells that they've drilled months ago, and they're just now putting them online. So we saw a continued growth in shale, but for the first time, it's starting to dip. And so we're starting to see the effects of low oil prices. Now, here is this is a chart showing the decline curve of a shale well. Okay, so here it shows this well is producing 850 barrels a day. Okay, and then in 2 months' time, 3 months' time, it drops down to almost 100 barrels a day. And in 29 months, it's 50 barrels a day. Can you imagine spending like $10 million on a well and it producing 50 a day? I just don't see how they could ever consider that a good investment. Here's the Nabora Shale. Wells in the Nabora Shale, they start out producing 1,800 a day, and they have a rapid decline. I mean, in a month, they're dropped down to 400 barrels a day. In 2 months, they're dropped down to 200 and gradually drop down to less than 50. The shale wells have a massive decline curve. They quickly drop, okay? So here's the thing. In order to maintain this massive 13 million a day, you have to drill a lot of shale, because the moment you put that brand new well online, it'll put out some incredible numbers, but in 30 to 60 days, it drops down to nothing, okay? So you have to drill a lot of shale in order to maintain that high output. And so once the drilling frenzy stops, which it has in shale, you're going to see a very quick decline. In 60 days, you're going to start seeing rapid decline, okay? Because all those brand new wells that were put online over the last 12 months, they're if they haven't already dropped down to 200 to 100 barrels, you're going to see a lot more happen. And then we're going to see a gradual decline over the next 6 months to a year, probably dropping 1 million barrels a day every quarter. So by the end of this year, I could foresee 2 to 3 million barrels of oil off the market. And I think that would be the place where Russia wants to be, as far as at what point are they going to stop this oil glut and start curbing production again. And so Russia is a lot smarter in the oil and gas industry than most people. I mean, Russia knows more. When I say Russia, I'm talking about Putin. Putin knows more about oil than Trump does. Okay, now Trump's a smart guy. He's surrounded with some incredible smart people. But let's face it, Trump doesn't have the experience in oil that Putin does. Putin has more experience in oil, and it's his number one GDP. It's the most important thing to his GDP. So everybody's asking, oh, what's going to happen to oil prices? Everything's going to fall apart. First off, Russia would never do something to destroy his own industry. Too selfish of a person. You know, he's not going to sacrifice his life, his economy, and his role and authority in a country that power and money and economy is everything to him. And so he knows what he's doing. Okay, there's a reason why he's doing this, and it's to make his country richer. And the oil industry is something that is more dear to his heart than any American, okay? So he's not going to destroy the industry. His goal is to increase it. And he's the man that has the ability to stop the madness right now. If he wanted to, he could stop this, hook up with Saudi Arabia, and have an agreement, and immediately oil prices would skyrocket, okay? So the man that loves oil more than all of us, more than me, is in control of this oil price war, okay? And that's number one. Number two, the shale cannot handle this. Few U.S. shale firms can withstand prolonged oil price war. For the last 5 years, U.S. shale oil producers have been battling suppliers for lower costs and running equipment and crews hard to drive drilling costs down by about $20 a barrel. It's impossible. Shale has been, for the last 5 years, they've been trying to make ends meet, and now this is a nail in the coffin. The coronavirus was a nail in the coffin. The oil price war is a nail in the coffin. The geology alone, because of the decline curve, is a nail in the coffin. Shale, just die. You guys cannot survive. Even if oil prices stayed $100 a barrel, we didn't have the coronavirus, we didn't have the oil price war, shale would die. Because the geology alone cannot maintain these outputs, because we hit a peak and now it's dropping. The oil output drop right now has nothing to do with less wells being drilled, because we still have just as many wells being put online over the last couple months as we did when we were drilling wells. Problem is, we're 6 months to a year in the rear with these shale wells, because completion crews have to get out there and complete the well, put the well online, and that whole process could take 6 to 12 months. So we still have 6 to 12 months of wells being put online. The problem is that this is not because we're drilling less wells, this decline. This decline is because we hit peak production. Shale we cannot produce more than 13 million a day. Okay, and that decline, even if we kept drilling, that would continue to decline, because shale oil, you see this decline curve for shale. It goes from 1,600 barrels a day and it drops rapidly down to under 200 barrels a day, okay, in a very short time, in 40 to 60 days. That decline curve is getting worse. Every well that they drill, it's getting worse. The premium leases are not there anymore. The sweet spots are drilled. They're already found. They've already been developed. And every well that they drill, they're pumping more water in the structure. And for every barrel of water that they pump in the structure, that's one more barrel that they have to pump just to get oil out of the ground. And so with that said, all that fluid is in the structure. It costs more money to pump the fluid out with the more water we have in the structure. And there's less oil with each well they drill. Every time you drill a well, you deplete the structure. And so we're getting less oil, more water, more expensive to pump oil. It's more expensive to export oil because of the oil price war, and they're flooding the markets with oil. And so all the oil tankers are full, and their premium, they've increased their prices over 700%. It's unbelievable out there. It's a zoo. Oil prices are continuing to take a huge hit, but Russia knows what they're doing. Russia isn't going to allow oil prices to plummet to $3 a barrel. They're not going to allow it to destroy the oil industry. They're not going to allow their bread and butter to die. The mission is to get oil prices back to $100 a barrel. That's their mission. And the only way to do that is to hurt shale. And they're not just hurting shale, they're hurting every oil industry in the world, because $26 a barrel is not economically feasible for most oil companies. Now, we're able to drill a well for $600,000, okay? $600,000, we could drill a well. Plus, it's 100% tax deductible, okay? So let's take that $600,000 and multiply it, let's say, times $75. Okay. So with the tax savings, now it's really a $450,000 for one well. Okay. $450,000. Now, if you take current oil prices, which is $26.80, so we get WTI from the refineries. Okay. So let's say we produce 50 barrels a day, multiply that times $26.80. That well is making $1,300 a day gross. Okay. Multiply that times 365 days. Okay. We gross $489,000 a year. And after tax benefits, the well costs about $450,000. Okay. Now, granted, there's monthly expenses, there's severance taxes and what have you. I didn't take anything of that out. $489,000 gross on a $450,000 investment when oil prices are $26 a barrel. That's a pretty good investment. I'm Sean Pruitt, president of Kingdom Exploration. If you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel. Go to the description below if you'd like to learn more. Thanks.